Hi there, lovers and friends. Today's video is about the trouble with the royal wedding fantasy. And I'm going to be talking about the couple of the decade, or I guess the couple of the year, maybe the couple of the past hour, because that's how fanatic we are about switching this trope onto someone. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry tied the knot today in a really beautiful ceremony that I think at the end of the day has a gorgeous root cause of two separate individuals with different lives, different pasts, different families saying, hey, let's try to give this togetherness thing a shot. I love weddings, I truly do, but I think some of the language around this particular wedding has been problematic, and that's what I want to explore today. So there's three different areas I want to talk about. Number one is the whole happily ever after trope. Let me just use this finger for a second. Number two is the inflammatory language the media has been using in general to describe this relationship. I'm going to show you guys some of my faves that, like, from a quick search online you can find. The stars were aligned. They were a perfect fit. They were made for each other. It was a whirlwind storybook romance. And this to me just again distracts from the real storyline, which is, hey, these two people are gonna be giving it a shot. Let's wish them luck. And the final gripe that I have with royalness in general, or royal unions in general, is the washing of someone's self, the washing of someone's past. So Meghan Markle had to give up her career, all her social media accounts, her website, which she loved. Of course, there's big parts of herself which she'll still get to keep, like her love for philanthropy, and I'm sure her friends and some of her family at least. But by and large, I think that whole tradition of asking someone to give up their individuality to join the monarchy is outdated and unfair and problematic, and a message that a lot of people who aren't in royal weddings also get fed, which I don't think is the right one. So we're gonna explore those more, but before we do all that, I have to disclaim this by saying I am by no means anti-wedding. I am freaking obsessed with love. I study it, I talk about it for a living, I find any possible way to interact with it. So a day that's sole purpose is to celebrate the love of love is right up my alley. I love weddings, I wish this couple all the success in the world, but I do think the pressure and emphasis and tropes that we're using around their wedding is actually counterproductive to a healthy, successful marriage for them. And that should be the goal of a good wedding. That should be a goal of a good engagement, is setting yourself up not for the day, but for the days ahead. I also want to say that I used to do wedding photography, and for a long time, I had to stop doing that while I started to pursue myself more as a sexologist and as an intimacy educator. And now that that area of my life has really leveled out and I feel a ton of stability and I'm so grateful for all of that, I'm going to be actually adding wedding photography back into a service that I offer because I just love it so much. It's just genuinely a passion project. So if you guys go over to my Squarespace website, you can see some of my old wedding photos and also a form in case you're interested in having me shoot your wedding in the future.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, website, or online store, make it fast and make it look stunning with Squarespace.
All right, back to business. Happily ever after. I can't stand you. I truly can't. And I actually think that we have thrown out that ideology for a majority of people. We used to place that on regular folks. We used to say that, like, it's till death do you part, happily ever after, the marriage has happened, now all your problems are solved. And then we were like, oh, the divorce rate keeps rising. Maybe we should stop using this term because it actually doesn't apply to a vast percentage of the population. And then we've got the royalness. I feel this is the last place that we're truly forcing this happily ever after notion. So I find what we're doing, rather than changing the narrative, we're just changing the names involved with it. So it used to be, for example, like in my lifetime, like Will and Jada, like the perfect marriage, the ideal marriage. Then people had caught wind of the fact that their relationship was open, and then it was like, oh, we don't like them anymore, they're no longer perfect, and you hear less and less about them being the ideal married couple. Then it was Beyonce and Jay-Z for quite some time. They were like couple goals, they were like everyone's favorite, and then the cheating rumors came out, and now all of a sudden you very rarely hear people talk about how they want a marriage like Beyonce and Jay-Z. You know, so this couple actually gets trapped inside of this novel that we create for them. They're stuck inside of those pages and left at page 330 when they said I do, but their story kept going on, but we didn't give them the space to write that. We didn't give them the blank pages. So I think that the happily ever after notion has to die because people Whether you're a prince, a princess, or a duchess, people deserve blank pages. So secondly, I've already alluded to this, but some of the terms that we're using around this marriage, them having, being perfect, being made, the skies parting, that there being this just like magical connection, again, creates this like unrealistic expectation. We have a sweet spot where we get to talk about just how magical and effortless and perfect and flowy. And while that's great, as long as we can use the term at this time underneath it, it gives us flexibility for things to be not that extraordinary later. So at this time, it feels like a great fit. At this time, things are flowing wonderfully. At this time, we see eye to eye. That allows me next month to say, at this time, I can't stand this mother. Honest to God, I burnt all his drawers up, and I called his mom and said, yo, what were you thinking on the day of conception? Because I never want to have those thoughts to create such a demon. So all of those things, I think that's really what the beautiful breadth to me of a good romance is. It's the power to feel really wonderful one day and not so great the next. And the devotion to go through that as a partnership. That's really what the true love story is. Despite the fact that this person's farts smell terrible, despite the fact that they have a crazy uncle that you hate visiting, despite the fact that there are times the sex is not that great, you're still choosing to try and do this for as long as it makes sense together. That to me is a real fairy tale. I actually really love Meghan Markle. And again, I always say those things kind of like with a grain of salt, because I give her permission to be unlovable. I give her permission to do things that I don't agree with, because I probably have a bunch of things that she's like, I'm not down with that. So going into that notion, I find discomfort around the washing away of her past. The scary thing is, when you really think about it, a lot of our fairy tale romances include a washing away of the past. You have the mermaid who turns into a human being and leaves behind her family, her friends, her existence as soon as she gets married and starts a better and newer life on land. You have the Native American princess who has an entire community, a tribe, a rich history behind her, and she leaves all of that to begin a new and better life in the new world. And there's a lot more examples of that. And while for some people, washing of the past might be a perk of marriage, especially if you're coming from a traumatic background, for a lot of people, I think it's a downside and not something that we should be praising or uplifting as a cultural norm. But I also recognize the fact that change doesn't happen fast. Change happens the same way that rocks turn to sand. It's little by little. And I noticed the little changes that she is making in the monarchy and in the way that we talk about what royal is. She's helping with those changes. And there's some things that she probably can't do all in one shot. But I just want to illustrate that I personally find it problematic. And I'm sure, knowing the kind of woman that she is, she probably feels the same way as well too. So that's it. That's my thoughts on the royal wedding. Jared keeps calling me. Yeah, I'm trying to film the video. Oh. Okay. All right, I'm coming.
I finally have a new website that I'm so proud of. Thanks to Squarespace, I am rebranded and rebooted to make my business run smoother and the user experience for all of you more seamless. Now, if like me, you weren't ready to hand over a wad of cash for someone else to build your professional site, then Squarespace is the solution. It's a one-stop shop for your portfolio, online store, or legit whatever you need. They have a ridiculous selection of stunning templates catered towards every profession or purpose. It's easy to customize, and for me, who's not a coder, there was definitely no back-end drama. The best part of all, I haven't even mentioned to you guys, you can get a free 1-month trial. And no, you do not have to give over your credit card information. But when you are ready to make it official, you can open up a brand new domain website with Squarespace or transfer over your existing domain to them. Squarespace empowers millions of websites across thousands of different industries for people just like you and me. Go to squarespace.com/shanbooty for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, make sure you go back to squarespace.com/shanbooty, because that's how you save 10% off your first purchase of a website or of a domain.
Okay, so I lost my train of thought. Let's end this thing off by saying that the actionable request that I'm making with this video is, let's not place our hopes and our dreams or our bets on Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. let's just give them blank pages. Let's give them space to expand, to explore. Let's give them space to have a horror story in their narrative or a miracle story. Let's just give them complete support wherever that goes, and let's not put our ideology, our misplaced ideology, and what love is supposed to be on this poor unsuspecting couple who's already doing something pretty cool, and that's enough. It genuinely is enough. Anyways, I'm obviously a part of the fever. I think that there's something magical, of course, just about playing for a day in the fantasy and in the fun. But in all of that, we have to recognize that there's a real people involved. This isn't Halloween. This isn't a special day that tomorrow we go back to work and everything is back to normal. This is actually two people's lives that we're talking about. So let's just be responsible with how we talk about it. Oh, I got a fun activity. In the comment section below, let's write a 2018 fairy tale. If you had to write an updated version around what the ideology for a perfect relationship should be, what would that story sound like? I'm gonna put mine in the comment section below, and I'm gonna look for yours down there too.
Black, black, girl like